So continuing into section 16, sorry, section, I believe, 17 in Liber Secundus, second volume of the Red Book, entitled Nox Quarta. The fourth night, January 1914. It's not quite too long. I hear the roaring of the morning wind, which comes over the mountains. The night is overcome, when all my life was subject to eternal confusion and stretched out between the poles of fire. My soul speaks to me in a bright voice, quote, "The door shall be lifted off its hinges to provide a free passage between here and there, between yes and no, between above and below, between left and right. Airy passages should be built between all opposed things. Light, smooth streets should lead from one pole to the other. Scales should be set up, whose pointer sways gently. A flame should burn that cannot be blown out by the wind. A stream should flow to its deepest goal. The herds of wild animals should move to their feeding grounds along their old game paths. Life should proceed from birth to death, from death to birth, unbroken like the path of the sun. Everything should proceed on this path. Thus speaks my soul, but I toy casually and terribly with myself. Is it day or night? Am I asleep or awake? Am I alive or have I already died? Blind darkness besieges me, a great wall. A grey worm of twilight crawls along it. It has a round face and laughs. The laughter is convulsive and actually relieving. I open my eyes. The fat cook is standing before me. Quote, "You're a sound sleeper, I must say. You've slept for more than an hour." I, "Really? Have I slept? I must have dreamed. What a dreadful play. Did I fall asleep in this kitchen? Is this really the realm of mothers?" Which obviously refers to the first act of the second part of Faust, where he has to descend to the realm of the mothers. There's been much speculation concerning the meaning of this term in Goethe. To Eckermann, Goethe stated that the source for the name was from Plutarch. In all likelihood, this is Plutarch's discussion of the mother goddesses in Engion. Jung identified the realm of the mothers with the collective unconscious. It's an archetype where the great mother appears as a multiplicity, whereas the masculine deity would appear as a singularity, meaning monotheistically rather than polytheistically. In any case, did I really fall asleep in this kitchen? Is this really the realm of the mothers? Of mothers? She, "Have a glass of water, you're still thoroughly drowsy." I, "Yes, this sleep can make one drunk. Where is my Thomas?" There it lies, open at the 21st chapter. My soul, in everything and yet beyond everything, you must find your rest in the Lord, for he is the eternal rest of the saints. That's the Imitation of Christ, chapter 21, P124. I read the sentence aloud. Is not every word followed by a question mark? Quote, "If you fell asleep with this sentence, you must really have had a beautiful dream." That was the cook. I certainly dreamed, and I will think about the dream. Incidentally, can you tell me whose cook you are? She, "The librarian's. He loves good cooking, and I've been with him for many years." Inset image 115. An exceedingly strange image. Image legend. This is the golden fabric in which the shadow of God lives. Okay. I had no idea that the librarian had such a cook. She, "Yes, you must know that he is a gourmet." I, "Farewell, Madam Cook, and thank you for your accommodation." She, "You are most welcome, and the pleasure was entirely mine." Now I am outside. So that was the librarian's cook. Does he really know what food is prepared inside? He has certainly never gone in there for a temple sleep. Jung's referring to the Greek practices of dream incubation. Okay. I think that I'll return the Thomas A. Kempis to him. I enter the library. Librarian, "Good evening. Here you are again." I, "Good evening, sir. I've come to return the Thomas. I sat down for a bit in your kitchen next door to read without suspecting that it's your kitchen." He, "Please, there's no problem whatsoever. Hopefully my cook received you well." I can't complain about the reception. I even had an afternoon sleep over Thomas. He, "That doesn't surprise me. These prayer books are terribly boring." I, "Yes, for people like us, but your cook finds the little book very edifying." He, "Well, yes, for the cook." I, "Allow me the indiscreet question. Have you ever had an incubation sleep in your kitchen?" He, "No, I've never entertained such a strange idea." I, "Let me say that you'd learn a lot that way about the nature of your kitchen." Good night, sir. Okay. After this conversation, I left the library and went outside into the anteroom, where I approached the green curtains. I pushed them aside, and what did I see? I saw a high-ceilinged hall before me, with a supposedly magnificent garden in the background. Klingsor's magical garden, it occurred to me at once. I had entered a theatre. Those two over there are part of the play. Amfortas and Kundry. Or rather, just what am I looking at? It is the librarian and his cook. He is ailing and pale and has a bad stomach. She is disappointed and furious. Klingsor is standing to the left, holding the feather the librarian used to tuck behind his ear. How closely Klingsor resembles me. What a repulsive play. But look, Parsifal enters from the left. How strange. He also looks like me. Klingsor venomously throws the feather at Parsifal, but the latter catches it calmly. The scene changes. It appears that the audience, just to clarify, because I don't think it clarifies, I think, at the end of this passage, so I'll just finish it. The scene changes. It appears that the audience, in this case me, joins in during the last act, where I must kneel down as the Good Friday service begins. Parsifal enters, slowly, his head covered with a black helmet. The lion skin of Hercules adorns his shoulders, and he holds the club in his hand. He's also wearing modern black trousers in honor of the church holiday. I bristle and stretch out my hand avertingly, but the play goes on. Parsifal takes off his helmet. Yet there is no Gurnemans to atone for and consecrate him. Kundry stands in the distance, covering her head and laughing. The audience is enraptured and recognizes itself in Parsifal. Here's I. I take off my armor laid with history and my chimerical decoration and go to the spring wearing a white penitent's shirt, where I wash my feet and hands without the help of a stranger. Then I also take off my penitent's shirt and put on my civilian clothes. I walk out of the scene and approach myself. I, who am still kneeling down in prayer as the audience. I rise and become one with myself. Complicated. So the footnote goes, um, in Parsifal, um, Wagner presented his reworking of the Grail legend. The plot runs as follows. Titurel and his Christian knights have the Holy Grail in their keeping, in their castle, with a sacred spear to guard it. Klingsor is a sorcerer who seeks the Grail. He has enticed the keepers of the Grail into his magic garden, where there are flower maidens and the enchantress, Kundry. Amfortas, Titurel's son, goes into the castle to destroy Klingsor, but is enchanted by Kundry and lets the sacred spear fall, and Klingsor wounds him with it. Amfortas needs the touch of the spear to heal his wound. Gurnemans, the oldest of the knights, looks after Kundry, not knowing her role in Amfortas' wounding. A voice from the Grail Sanctuary prophesies that only a youth who is guileless and innocent can regain the spear. Parsifal enters, having killed a swan, not knowing his name or the name of his father. The knights hope that he is this youth. Gurnemans takes him to Klingsor's castle. Klingsor orders Kundry to seduce Parsifal. Parsifal defeats Klingsor's knights. Kundry is transformed into a beautiful woman and she kisses him. From this, he realizes that Kundry seduced Amfortas and he resists her. Klingsor hurls the spear at him, and Parsifal seizes it. Klingsor's castle and garden disappear. After wandering, Parsifal finds Gurnemans, now living as a hermit. Parsifal is covered in black armor, and Gurnemans is offended that he is armed on Good Friday. Parsifal lays his spear before him and removes his helmet and arms. Gurnemans recognizes him and anoints him king of the Knights of the Grail. Parsifal baptizes Kundry. They go into the castle and ask Amfortas to uncover the Grail. Amfortas asks them to slay him. Parsifal enters and touches his wound with his spear. Amfortas is transfigured, and Parsifal radiantly holds up the Grail. Okay. There's a gathering where they talk about this, and Jung said, Wagner's exhaustive treatment of the legend of the Holy Grail and Parsifal would need to be supplemented with a synthetic view that the various figures correspond to various artistic aspirations. The incest barrier will not serve to explain that Kundry's ensnarement fails. Instead, this has to do with the activity of the psyche to elevate human aspirations ever higher. In psychological types, Jung put forward a psychological interpretation of Parsifal, which that's in, it's about in episode 16 or 17, I believe, in my series on psychological types. It's in chapter 5, talking about the relativity of the God concept and the symbols of the Grail and the vessel. Okay. So that was all about all of those characters appearing in Jung, and he then gives a second section, which is commentary, which I think we're slowly realizing is Philemon talking. Quote, "What would mockery be if it were not true mockery? What would doubt be if it were not true doubt? What would opposition be if it were not true opposition? He who wants to accept himself must also really accept his other. But in the yes, not every no is true, and in the no, every yes is a lie. But since I can be in the yes today and in the no tomorrow, yes and no are both true and untrue. Whereas yes and no cannot yield because they exist, our concepts of truth and error can. I presume you would like to have certainty with regard to truth and error. Certainty within one or the other is not only possible, but also necessary. Although certainty in one is protection and resistance against the other. If you are in one, your certainty about the other excludes the other. Your certainty about the one excludes the other. But how can you then reach the other? And why can the one not be enough for us? One cannot be enough for us since the other is in us. And if we were content with one, the other would suffer great need and afflict us with its hunger. But we misunderstand its hunger and still believe that we are hungry for the one and strive for it even more adamantly. Through this, we cause the other in us to assert its demands on us even more strongly. If we are then ready to recognize the claim of the other in us, we can cross over into the other to satisfy it. But we can thus reach across, since the other has become conscious to us. Yet if our blinding through the one is strong, we become even more distant from the other, and a disastrous chasm between the one and the other opens up in us. The one becomes surfeited, and the other becomes too hungry. The satiated grows lazy, and the hungry grows weak, and so we suffocate in fat, consumed by lack. This is sickness, but you see a lot of this type. It must be so, but it need not be so. There are grounds and causes enough that it is so, but we also want it not to be so. We also want it not to be so. For man is afforded the freedom to overcome the cause, for he is creative in and of himself. If you have reached that freedom through the suffering of your spirit, to accept the other despite your highest belief in the one, since you are it too, then your growth begins. If others mock me, it is nevertheless them doing this, and I can attribute guilt to them for this, and forget to mock myself. He who cannot mock himself will be mocked by others. So accept your self-mockery, so that everything divine and heroic falls from you, and you become completely human. What is divine and heroic in you is a mockery to the other in you. For the sake of the other in you, set off your admired role which you previously performed of your own self, and become who you are. Become who you are. Alan Watts, become who you are. He who has the luck and misfortune of a particular talent falls prey to believing that he is this gift. Hence, he is also often its fool. A special gift is something outside of me. I am not the same as it. The nature of the gift has nothing to do with the nature of the man who carries it. It often even lives at the expense of the bearer's character. His character is marked by the disadvantage of his gift, indeed even through its opposite. Consequently, he is never at the height of his gift, but always beneath it. If he accepts his other, he becomes capable of bearing his gift without disadvantage. But if he only wants to live in his gift and consequently rejects his other, he oversteps the mark, since the essence of his gift is extra-human and a natural phenomenon, which he in reality is not. All the world sees his error, and he becomes the victim of its mockery. Then he says that others mock him, while it is only the disregard of his other that makes him ridiculous. When the God enters my life, I return to my poverty for the sake of the God. I accept the burden of poverty and bear all my ugliness and ridiculousness, and also everything reprehensible in me. I thus relieve the God of all the confusion and absurdity that would befall him if I did not accept it. With this, I prepare the way for the God's doing. What should happen? Has the darkest abyss been emptied and exhausted? Or what stands and waits down there, impending and red hot? Inset image 117. Whoa. Wait, sorry, I think it's the wrong one. Yes. I better read this one. So the text referring to the image is like a many-armed serpent dragon, someone pushing it away, a small doll-like figure, and a tiger reposing in down dog. And text in image, a youthful supporter, Telesophoros. Oh, that's 4 characters in that order, as I said. Atmovictu, the dragon, a youthful supporter, Telesophoros, and the evil spirit in some men. Image legend. The dragon wants to eat the sun, and the youth beseeches him not to, but he eats it nevertheless. Atmovictu, as spelled there, first appears in Black Book 6 in 1917. Here's the paraphrase of the fantasy of April 25, 1917. The serpent says that Atmovictu was her companion for thousands of years. He was first an old man, and then he died and became a bear. Then he died and became an otter. Then he died and became a newt. Then he died again and came into the serpent. The serpent is Atmovictu. He made a mistake before then and became a man, while he was still an earth serpent. Jung Sol says that Atmovictu is a kobold, a serpent conjurer, a serpent. The serpent says that she is the kernel of the self. From the serpent, Atmovictu transformed into Philemon. There is a sculpture of him in Jung's garden in Kusnacht. From the earliest experiences of my life, Jung wrote, quote, when I was in England in 1920, I carved 2 similar figures out of a thin branch without having the slightest recollection of that childhood experience. One of them I'd reproduced on a larger scale in stone, and this figure now stands in my garden in Kusnacht. It was only at that time that the unconscious supplied me with a name. I called the figure Atmovictu, the breath of life. It is a further development of that quasi-sexual object of my childhood, which turned out to be the breath of life, the creative impulse. Basically, the mannequin is a kabir. That's from Memories, Dreams, Reflections. The figure of Telesophoros is like Phanes in image 113, which was back there. Telesophoros is one of the Kabiri. Yes, and the daemon of Asclepius. Kabiri as in from dreams and psychology and alchemy. He was also, this is Asclepius, who was also regarded as the god of healing. And had a temple at Pergamon in Asia Minor. In 1950, Jung carved an image of him in his stone at Bollingen, together with a dedication to him in Greek, combining lines from Heraclitus, the Mithridatic Liturgy, and Homer. Staff of Asclepius is the kind of the Hermes' wand. Anyway, what were we saying? We were just describing image 117, which is a bit complicated, and now we move on with the next paragraph. It's about one more page, one a little bit. I might just reread the paragraph before it's not too long. When the God enters my life, I return to my poverty for the sake of God. I accept the burden of poverty and bear all my ugliness and ridiculousness, and also everything reprehensible in me. I thus relieve the God of all the confusion and absurdity that will befall him if I did not accept it. With this, I prepare the way for the God's doing. What should happen? Has the darkest abyss been emptied and exhausted? Or what stands and waits down there? Impending and red hot? Then image 117, and then which fire has not been put out, and which embers are still ablaze? We've sacrificed innumerable victims to the dark depths, and yet it still demands more. What is this crazy desire craving satisfaction? Whose mad cries are these? Who among the dead suffers thus? Come here and drink blood, so that you can speak. There's then a footnote referring to Book 2 of the Odyssey, in which Odysseus makes a libation to the dead to enable them to speak. Walter Burkert notes, quote, "The dead drink the pourings and indeed the blood. They are invited to come to the banquet, to the satiation with blood. As the libations seep into the earth, so the dead will send good things up above." Jung used this motif in a metaphorical sense in Transformation Symbols of Libido. Like Odysseus, I have sought to allow this shade, Miss Frank Miller, to drink only as much so as to make it speak, so it can give away some of the secrets of the underworld. Anyway, so it went on. Who among the dead suffers thus? Come here and drink blood so that you can speak. Why do you reject the blood? Would you like milk or the red juice of the vine? Perhaps you would rather have love, love for the dead, being in love with the dead. Being in love with the dead? Are you perhaps demanding the seeds of life for the faded 1,000-year-old body of the underworld? An unchaste, incestuous lust for the dead? Something that makes the blood run cold? Are you demanding a lusty commingling with corpses? I spoke of acceptance, but you demand, quote, to seize, embrace, copulate? Are you demanding the desecration of the dead? That prophet, you say, lay on the child and placed his mouth on the child's mouth, and his eyes on its eyes, and his eyes on its eyes, and its hands on its hands. And he thus placed himself over the boy, so that the child's body became warm. But he rose again and went here and there in the house before he mounted anew and spread himself over him again. The boy snorted 7 times, then the boy opened his eyes. So shall your acceptance be, so shall you accept, not cool, not superior, not thought out, not obsequious, not as a self-chastisement, but with pleasure. Precisely with this ambiguous, impure pleasure, whose ambiguity enables it to unite with the higher, with that wholly evil pleasure of which you do not know whether it be virtue or vice, with that pleasure which is lusty repulsiveness, lecherous fear, sexual immaturity. One wakens the dead with his pleasure. One wakens the dead with his pleasure. Ugh. Your lowest is in a sleep resembling death and needs the warmth of life, which contains good and evil inseparably and indistinguishably. That is the way of life. You can call it neither evil nor good, neither pure nor impure. Yet this is not the goal, but the way and the crossing. It is also sickness and the beginning of recovery. It is the mother of all abominable deeds and all salutary symbols. It is the most primordial form of creation, the very first dark urge that flows through all secret hiding places and dark passages, with the unintentional lawfulness of water, and from unexpected places in the loose soil, swelling from the finest cracks to fructify the dark soil, to fructify the dry soil. It is the very first secret teacher of nature, teaching plants and animals the most astonishing and supremely clever skills and tricks, which we hardly know how to fathom. It is the great sage who has superhuman knowledge, who has the greatest of all the sciences, who makes order out of confusion, and who prophesies the future clairvoyantly, out of ungraspable fullness. It is the serpent-like, perishable and beneficial, the dreadfully and ridiculously demonic. It is the arrow that always hits the weakest spot, the spring root which opens the sealed treasure chambers. You can call it neither clever nor stupid, neither good nor evil, since its nature is inhuman throughout. It is the son of the earth, the dark one, whom you should awaken. It is man and woman, at the same time an immature sex, rich in interpretation, rich in interpretation and misinterpretation, so poor in meaning and yet so rich. This is the dead that cried loudest, that stood right at the bottom and waited, that suffered worst. It desired neither blood nor milk nor wine for the sacrifice of the dead, but the willingness of our flesh. Its longing paid no heed to the torment of our spirit, which struggled and tortured itself to devise what cannot be devised, that hence tore itself apart and sacrificed itself. Not until our spirit lay dismembered on the altar did I hear the voice of the Son of the earth, and only then did I see that he was the great suffering one who needed salvation. He is the chosen one, since he was the most rejected. It is bad to have to say this, but perhaps I hear badly, or perhaps I misunderstand what the depths say. It is immeasurable to say as much, and yet I must say it. The depths are silent. He has arisen, and now beholds the light of the sun, and is among the living. Restlessness and discord rose up with him, doubt and the fullness of life. Amen, it is finished. What was unreal is real. What was real is unreal. However, I may not. I do not want to. I cannot. Oh, human wretchedness. Oh, unwillingness in us. Oh, doubt and despair. This is really Good Friday, upon which the Lord died and descended into hell and completed the mysteries. This is the Good Friday when we complete the Christ in us and we descend to hell ourselves. This is the Good Friday on which we moan and cry to will the completion of Christ, for after his completion we go to hell. Christ was so powerful that his realm covered all the world and only hell lay outside it. Who succeeded in crossing the borders of this realm with good grounds, pure conscience, and obeying the law of love? Who among the living is Christ and journeys to hell in living flesh? Who is it that expands the realm of Christ with hell? Who is it that is full of drunkenness while sober? Who is it that descended from being one into being two? Who is it that tore apart his own heart to unite with what has been separated? I am he, the nameless one, who does not know himself, and whose name is concealed even from himself. I have no name, since I have not yet existed, but have only just become. To myself I am an Anabaptist and a stranger. I, who I am not it. But I, who will be I before me and after me, am it. In that I abased myself, I elevated myself as another. In that I accepted myself, I divided myself into two. In that I united myself with myself, I became the smaller part of myself. I am this in my consciousness. However, I am thus in my consciousness as if I were also separated from it. I am, insert image 119 in footnote 226, I am not in my second and greater state, as if I were this second and greater one myself, but I am always in ordinary consciousness, yet so separate and distinct from it, as if I were in my second and greater state, but without the consciousness of really being it. I have even become smaller and poorer, but precisely because of my smallness, I can be conscious of the nearness of the great. Just briefly, image 119. Well, someone stabbing the dragon, a dragon. And image legend, the accursed dragon has eaten the sun, its belly being cut open, and he must not hand over the gold of the sun, together with his blood. This is the turning back of Atmaviktu of the Old One. He who destroyed the proliferating green covering is the youth who helped me to kill Siegfried. That's reference to Liber Secundus, chapter 7, Murder of the Hero. He who destroyed the proliferating green covering is the youth who helped me to kill Siegfried. Anyway, we now have a short paragraph which is italicized, usually indicating, again, different speaker, different manner of speech. It's almost finished. I have been baptized with impure water for rebirth. A flame from the fire of hell awaited me above the baptismal basin. I have bathed myself with impurity and have cleansed myself with dirt. I received him, I accepted him, the divine brother, the son of the earth, the two-sexed and impure, and overnight he has become a man. His two incisors have broken through, and light down covers his chin. I captured him, I overcame him, I embraced him. He demanded much from me, and yet brought everything with him. For he is rich, the earth belongs to him, but his black horse has parted from him. Now, one final paragraph reverting to not especially italicized, meaning normal text. Truly, I have shot down a proud enemy. I have forced a greater and stronger one to be my friend. Nothing should separate me from him, the Dark One. If I were to leave him, he follows me like my shadow. If I do not think of him, he is still uncannily near. He will turn into fear if I deny him. I must amply commemorate him. I must prepare a sacrificial meal for him. I fill a plate for him at my table. Much that I would have done earlier for men, I now must do for him. Hence they consider me selfish, for they do not know that I go with my friend, and that many days are consecrated to him. The draft continues. I put many people, books, and thoughts aside for his sake, but even more. I withdrew from the current world and did the plain and simple, and what suggested it most immediately, to serve his secret purpose. By serving him, the Dark One, I encountered another on the path of mercy. If intentions and wishes torment me, I think, feel, and do what lies closest. That Thus, what is most remote reaches me. But unrest has moved in, a quiet underground earthquake, a distant great roaring. Ways have been opened to the primordial and to the future. Miracles and terrible mysteries are close at hand. I feel the things that were and that will be. Behind the ordinary, the eternal abyss yawns. The earth gives me back what it hid. And finally, inset images 121, 22, and 23, and a plethora of footnotes accompanying them, which we'll briefly consider. Image 121 looks something like that. Which has three footnotes. Firstly, in 1944, Psychology and Alchemy, Jung referred to an alchemical representation of a circle quadrated by four rivers in the context of a discussion of mandala symbolism, commenting on the four rivers of paradise on a number of occasions, e.g. in Ion. The second, and the inscription of the image, 1919. This date seems to refer to when the image was painted. Yeah. So it says, this stone, set so beautifully, is certainly the lapis philosophorum, philosopher's stone. It's harder than diamond, but it expands into space through four distinct qualities, namely breadth, height, depth, and time. It is hence invisible, and you can pass through it without noticing it. The four streams of Aquarius flow from the stone. This is the incorruptible seed that lies between the father and the mother, and prevents the heads of both cones from touching. It is the monad which countervails the pleroma. Okay, and so the final footnote for this image goes, on June 3, 1918, Jung's soul described Philemon as the joy of the earth. Quote, the daemons become reconciled in the one who has found himself, who is the source of all four streams of the source-bearing earth. From his summit, waters flow in all four directions. He is the sea that bears the sun. He is the mountain that carries the sun. He is the father of all four great streams. He is the cross that binds the four great daemons. He is the incorruptible seed of nothingness, which falls accidentally through space. This seed is the beginning, younger than all other beginnings, older than all endings. That's Black Book 7, p. 61. Some of the motifs of this in the statement may have some connections with this image. There's a gap between July 1919 and Feb 1920 in Black Book 7, during which time Jung was presumably writing psychological types. But on Feb 23 of 1920, he made the following entry, quote, what lies between appears in the Book of Dreams, but even more in the images in the Red Book. In dreams, Jung noted around 8 dreams during this period, and a vision at night in August 19 of 2 angels, a dark transparent mass, and a young woman. This suggests that the symbolic process continues in the paintings in the calligraphic volume, which do not appear to have direct cross-references to either the text in Red Book or Black Books. Ugh. Yeah, in 1935, Jung put forward the psychological interpretation of the symbolism of medieval alchemy, viewing the philosopher's stone, the gold alchemical opus, as a symbol of the self, rather obviously. Okay, we then had just briefly image 122, and I'll just read the inscription. Image 122. 4th of December, 1919. This is the backside of the gem. He who is in the stone has the shadow. This is Atma Victu, the old one, after he is withdrawn from the creation. He has returned to endless history, where he took his beginning. Once more he became stony residue, having completed his creation. In the form of Izdubar, he has outgrown and delivered Philemon and Ka from him. Philemon gave the stone, Ka and there's a symbol of a circle inset with a stone, square. The final character appears to be the astrological symbol for the sun. Yeah. So Philemon gave the stone, Ka, the astrological symbol for the sun. I'm not going to read the next one because it's just incredibly long, really, really long. And similarly with image 123, it is a bit shorter. What does it say? Image 123, footnote 233, inscription, Jan 4, 1920. This is the holy castor of water. The kabiri grow out of the flowers, which spring from the body of the dragon. Above is the temple. In some sense, I think Jung might be that dragon. The kabiri might be those who follow Jung and believe him in some way. Get that sense. Anyway, it's an image of someone watering the kabiri. So, yes, after images 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, and 2, 3, that finally finishes. What was it? Let me double check. Section 17 in Liber Secundus, second volume of the Red Book. It was entitled Nox Quarta, coming after Nox Tertia and going into the three prophecies. And it has still been 30th of July, 2025.